And so, even though most people out here know us, my name is John Weiss, I'm the chair. Kathleen is the vice chair, co-chair.
George Morse.
John O'Connell.
Martha Taylor, town planner.
So, we have some meeting minutes, but I'm not sure that everyone's had a chance to read them, so let's get a stab at that. We have the meeting minutes, not from the 1st, but from the 17th.
Right.
So has everyone had a chance to read those minutes?
I did.
I did.
I did.
I haven't, but I'm okay.
You're okay? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion.
Second.
Actually, John, you were there, so.
Oh, I can't.
All second.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
17th, that was, I guess I was.
17th.
No, that was the session.
And October 1st, we'll be getting some, okay. So you have two appearances. The first is Angelo Ciardelli. Ciardello. I did the same thing to you last time.
You got it good though. Almost time's good.
And so Angelo, come on up and let's hear what you have to say. You know, obviously we have this letter. Are you by any chance Barry Wolf?
I am.
Nice to meet you. John Weiss. Nice meeting you. How are you?
Very thanks.
And so we have this letter that we just received and we could just quickly peruse it. So why don't you summarize the issues that you've had and why you've had a difficult time getting this project, completed?
Well, what happened was, engineer, actually the architect finished the plans in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
I put the foundation right.
Right.
Right. So I thought my next step would be right away to order the steel,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't work that way. What happened was, I had to get subcontractors like the air conditioning units because they were going up on the roof. You couldn't order the bar joists.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get the air conditioner guy, get together with the structural engineer, so they could order the right bar joists. So, and then there was a stairs going, there's a set of stairs going upstairs. There was a change on that, on the layout upstairs. And it just took time, by the time we got all these subcontractors to get with the structural engineer and to get signed off and to order the steel. And then the steel was 10 weeks out to order the steel, and just everything got delayed. It's just one thing after another, pretty much that's what it was.
Well, that's the current issue. I mean, he started right after he got the site plan approval, did site
Right.
prep, did some
Right.
clearing.
Right.
There were some corrective steps done with the Conservation Commission's involvement, which carried him forward from 2012 through 2013. And the steps Mr. Ciardelli just described brought him to this point. So he's got, is the steel, you had a schedule you were giving me for that.
Yeah, well, what it is, the steel is gonna be in 11/15, will be in, and then they said they need 1 week to drill the steel, I guess they drill the holes and they put it in place.
Mm-hmm.
So they need a week, and then after that, they're gonna mount it.
So after the steel goes up, there should be no delay in completing the structure?
Yeah, there is gonna be a delay, because after the steel goes up, the masonry gotta go up,
Right.
and we're gonna be in December, I don't know if we can do the masonry in December.
Weather dependent.
Yeah.
So the steel goes up and so that's the frame, but what's the building made out of?
It's masonry. Well,
Oh,
what it is,
it's, okay.
yeah, what it is, it's masonry, then there's this half of it's steel panels, but you cannot, I was wondering if you could put steel panels first, but you can't do that. You gotta put the masonry, and then the steel panels sit on top of the masonry, and then the roof goes on.
So the idea is to do the masonry and the steel in the spring, and then all the internal work follows right through that. If he had been able to get the steel earlier, he could have enclosed space to work in the winter, but.
So you're not gonna put the steel up this fall?
The steel,
That's
Steel,
what he
yeah.
wants to do.
Okay.
the steel's gonna be put up, well, probably, I would say the end of November.
End of November, yeah, okay.
But you said masonry and steel, so is that the panels?
The steel panels,
Well, they'll have to wait, right?
They're gonna have to wait.
They wait for the.
There's the
That's
steel
right.
frame and then there's the
Right.
steel panel.
Right.
So, we wanted to see you complete this project, okay?
Okay.
This is not us not wanting to see you be successful. The concern was is that this spanned, the site was cleared, and it became somewhat of an eyesore because of, discussions we've had in the past. And then it was a question of whether or not you were moving forward building it, because you kind of put the foundation in and we didn't know what was going on. So
Okay.
you're staying there. So what we're trying to understand is, are you moving forward with the building, getting an idea of a schedule, and just expectations? Do you understand?
Yes, no, I totally,
Yeah.
well,
I'll explain that.
Okay.
I just, the structural engineer said it's normal to get the engineer to sign off. It takes 5-6 months by the time you get your subcontractors, you know, because everything,
Who's running the project for you? Are you doing the project yourself?
you know, we got a control site, which means, like the building inspector will go sign off on everything.
Control.
I think the
No.
chairman's asking, who's your structural engineer?
Oh,
Yeah.
McBree,
McBree.
DM.
And
I know those guys.
And so do you have one guy who you say is your project manager?
Yes.
Who's your project manager?
My father. My father. But it just, you know, I thought, you know, I kind of thought you just order this, you know, I could order the steel, but
We
everything
understand.
falls in place, you know, and that's what took time.
Well, you got shop drawing review and all
That's
that
what it
stuff,
is.
which is in your interest to do. You don't want to
It helps
just
me,
order it
yeah.
and hope for the best.
The other thing is, who's your lender? What's the bank?
Set on fire.
They wanted to see the final, you know, the whole
Don't blame 'em.
subcontractor roof thing before they bought the steel. So there was a little bit of financing involved.
Meaning seeing the plans for
You
that?
mean
Yes.
securing the financing?
Yes, and then
Yes.
giving letting money out for different people.
Just to make sure it goes where it goes.
Who's
That's exactly-
finishing the steel?
Who's doing it?
Yeah,
Uh,
is Brad doing that too?
No,
'Cause they do job
no,
Furnishing or finishing?
furnishing.
Who's providing the steel?
Capone Steel.
Oh, okay.
Out of Raleigh, they're out of Raleigh.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
that.
So we invited him in to find out basically what was stalling and what was his new schedule.
Well, there's also but the reason we did is that the time for the special permit elapses.
Site plan.
Site plan,
Yeah. That's all right.
for the site plan lapses at the end of this month. This month? This
Yeah.
month.
This one.
Yeah.
And so in order for him to proceed, he needs to get some, as they requested
Extension.
here, an extension from us. They've asked for 1 year. So do we want to have a discussion about what we think is a reasonable time frame for an extension?
Mr. O'Connor, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, I believe the 10-week lead time on the bar joist and, for finishing it, you know, it's unreasonable to ask that, I think, that the masonry be done in the winter. It's physically possible, but it's gonna jack up the expense significantly to tent it and heat it and all. There's not much hope that you can get masonry up in December. You're supposed to be 40 degrees and rising, it ain't gonna happen yet. So, you started in, you got access to the site, right? You can get equipment in there, you can get a crane in there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, right around
Oh, yeah,
the
right.
building, it's not
Right.
like you gotta wait for everything to dry out.
No,
So you could start probably at the latest, the 1st of April.
that's what we figured.
Yeah, so you've got most of April on the masonry, lintels and all that, couple of weeks in June.
The brick is gonna be ordered too, we're gonna order the brick, yeah.
So you think a year's reasonable, John?
I'm sorry?
1 year's reasonable?
Oh, yeah, I do, I'm just thinking out step by step. Yeah, one year is
Is it too much?
is quite enough. Well, that's why I was trying to take it a step at a time.
Yeah,
You got your mechanicals that would start probably in June. So, yeah, I think you're not missing a year by much. I mean, I wouldn't quibble over a month or two.
Well, that was, if I may, I mean, there was the question of asking for 9 months, you know, and then it's,
Yeah, it looks
so
to me
you
9
go,
to 10
you
months.
go for the whole enchilada, right?
I
But
understand,
it-
you want
yeah,
safety
it's sort of-
cushion in there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is, or we can
I
come
think the
back.
3 months
We
is
could-
safe. I think it realistically it's 9 months.
Yeah.
A year is
exactly.
okay.
So the question is, do we want to give them the extra 3 months
Yeah.
now?
A lot
You know what I mean?
of, a lot of that can be done concurrent with the
I
building.
don't know.
I guess one of my
Yeah.
concerns is over this next year is that we don't get stockpiles of miscellaneous things like we've seen. That's, I'm gonna be quite honest, that's one of my concerns I see if we give you an extension, and I don't know how it go. You know, you've had discussions
Yeah.
with Concom about what's appropriate there and what's not, so
Yeah.
we don't have to go through that tonight, right?
Oh, I think that got straightened out.
That got straight.
I just
And
wanna make sure it
also
stays
Sled
From
straight.
that
Road,
initial
Yes.
phase, I don't think there's.
and also
been
the
any
work on
question.
Sled Road and keeping that open.
Oh,
and
that's
keeping-
been always,
all right?
I mean, I
Okay.
think, you guys see.
So that's open now.
And
I
then,
don't
though,
think that's so
Martha,
much.
did we have an
Where the
issue with
road's
the,
supposed to
with the
be.
turning radius coming out of Sled Road or something?
No, the town plows.
What was that? Where
No.
you thought that there was an issue?
Oh, no, somebody did raise an issue about that, but I can't, the turning radius coming out of Sled Road.
But it's an
But
existing,
it's not-
it's an existing road, I thought it, though.
Right, well, Mass DOT.
It was
wanted
a
the
DOT
guardrail to
issue
be
and the
cut
guardrail.
back.
Oh.
Yeah, but,
Have you had a
yeah,
further
we are,
discussion with them?
yeah, we went through that, but,
You did?
I think when, Martha and, was it with the conservation, Doug Packer, yeah, we went out there. I don't know if you remember, there was like a slanted piece of guardrail,
Yeah.
and they said, that's not a problem turning that slanted piece, turning in, that's what
Oh,
we're
okay,
doing.
so you're just gonna turn that in?
Yes, that's all
Okay,
it was.
I think that's what the issue was.
So you don't have to infringe,
No, not been done
You're
yet.
allowed to.
I'm allowed to do it, yes.
you don't have to infringe on the next guy's property. You
No.
can do this all on your property,
Yes.
or on the
The
Sled Road,
town's
on the Sled Road
Yeah.
property, yeah.
Yeah.
So if everything goes, not so much according to, but within the 1-year time frame, you will be complete and occupying the interior of this building by when?
Probably the winter.
When you
About-
finish construction, will you be moving in?
Oh,
I
he
think
wants,
is what
that's,
he's asking you.
yeah,
That's
he
what
wants
he's
to
trying.
use it.
I need to.
So it's probably July?
I can move in July.
Well, it's when you're done.
I mean, the
moving in.
structure's-
Yeah, but when it's done.
He's buying,
See, I think the structure's done in July.
yeah, he's buying equipment, he's buying office, furniture,
Right.
and operating out of there. That's-
And obviously, the last thing is landscaping, but don't forget about the landscaping.
No.
We
Oh,
have-
looking for those
Have him
birch
come back
trees.
in and we'll have a little discussion about the landscaping before you do it.
I'm looking for those birch trees.
Oh, Bridge Street.
Right.
Was that on, was that?
Yeah, we said
on the
that's
plan?
what's
Yeah,
on
no, but in terms of the type of
Yeah.
planting, there's a planting.
There's a
Yes.
planting
Yes,
plan,
he gave a
and
So
so,
just one thing about that is, let's say it's July or August when,
but you can plant in
well,
September.
that's the
Yeah,
reason
birch
for the
is
full
no-
year,
there's
is
no
it takes
problem.
us into October.
Yeah, the bridges can go in September.
They can go in September.
I don't have a problem giving him a year if it looks like he's actually gonna move forward. Our concern was is that nothing was gonna be done over the next year.
Angela, the best thing you can do is get that steel up on
That's what I
November.
Well, something that I'd like to see would be a simple bar graph that's got all of the trades on it. The
Okay.
landscaping,
The
the dirt
schedule.
work, the paving, everything.
Okay.
All your mechanical, your heating, you won't have air conditioning, I don't think, but maybe you
No, there
do.
is air conditioning.
You do?
Yes.
Okay, so your HVAC, your plumbing, your electrical,
Okay.
all of your interior finishes, and the steel and the masonry, and just
Yeah.
No, basically,
a simple,
critical.
I wouldn't ask for a critical path.
Don't
they
you
need
already-
to-
Simply.
Just
Don't
what
you already
each
have
one
one? Bar chart would do.
expected to take, I know.
Wouldn't your father have already created one of those, developed one of the project plans, schedules?
What? We do now.
He must have a project
I mean, you
schedule.
must
Yes.
be one already on paper,
We had,
you don't
we
have
had
to
to
create
go to the
one.
bank.
So if you
Exactly.
could give
So
us a
that's all
project
he's asking
schedule
for.
that you gave to the bank,
Updated.
updated
Okay,
to,
yeah,
starting now
to,
going forward.
But
Well,
Yes,
not
I want
with
an
one
accurate
line.
one.
Yeah, not
Yes, please.
something older.
all right?
Yeah.
Not with one line on it,
Yeah.
Angelo, it's got
No, like
a
start-
dozen
Yeah.
existing lines.
Yeah.
His father already has one.
Move to approve it.
I mean, I don't expect it broken down to the day, but by the fraction of half a month, a month, another
Okay.
month and a half,
That's fine.
that kind of thing.
Okay. Can, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to make a comment about this issue? Anybody here that wants to?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do I, should I identify myself?
Yes, you can.
I'm Carla Moss. I'm a resident that's been here over, I live on the other side of town, and I've been here for meetings. My husband's probably gonna be on the planning board. And I have listened to this issue again and again and again. I have a question. Is this piece of property currently being used for any purpose other than building the building? Like, I hear about
Are you-
cars, I
Are
hear
you, she
about.
must have you like stockpiling things and.
Or are you storing, like, motorized vehicles on this property?
Yes.
Okay, my next question is, and I'm just a novice, when you're building a building, you're paying a tax rate on an unfinished piece of property that the town doesn't get any money for. But once you build the building, you get an occupancy permit, and then the town sees the purpose of the property.
Right.
But at this point, I see a a business being run out of a piece of property that I don't know if the town is getting anything other than an undeveloped.
It's no different right now if it was, you bought it, anybody can buy a piece of property depending on the district, and you can have a storage yard, a contracted yard.
Would you get
Very
the same
similar.
tax? Like
You don't
Not
get taxed on
necessarily.
that.
Well, not necessarily.
I mean, I guess what I'm asking, I mean, you're kind of getting a free ride on this whole thing, I see as a
Well-
resident. I mean, not a free ride, but
Carla,
I.
you know what, the answer to that, we don't know, because we haven't spoken to the assessor about it. So we don't know what he's been assessed at during the construction period. But typically during a construction period, there are taxes that are paid on the property that acknowledge work done today.
Okay,
There is a
so-
foundation and there's.
So it's a foundation that's in, and he should be assessed on the foundation.
I don't
Okay.
think that's,
But-
that's true.
But I-
Should he be assessed on the fact that he's storing vehicles and sort of running?
That's actually not our preview. We don't,
Okay.
that's something the assessors department deals with, and we don't even get involved in the taxes portion of it. It's not something we're supposed to get
So,
involved in.
that's a good question, but we don't know all the answers, and we just give you an conjecture right
Okay.
now, all right?
I appreciate your point, though.
Yeah.
I do.
I do have one question related to that, though. You're keeping vehicles on the site, some of your trucks, where are they registered right now?
We're in the trucks right now. So,
You mean Massachusetts?
Right, which community?
oh. We got Massachusetts plates on.
No, but what community, it's
What's the
the
garage?
excise taxes
Does
on
it
it.
does it say they're Newbury or Rowley or?
No, right now we have them as Ipswich, because that's where we were at till we move over here, you know?
And so when you move them over here, they will be Newbury. So
Wait a
Newbury,
minute, I think.
right? Because that's money
Yeah,
that
they
comes
are
to the
Ipswich
town.
right now, they are Ipswich right now.
So they should be moved, and the payment should be made to the town of Newbury.
I have no problem
You're
with
thinking
that.
of excise?
Yes.
If you're storing them here.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, that's fine.
We will
Okay?
confirm that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just those
Change the
are,
listings.
Yeah, I don't know.
those are a number of trucks, and they're relatively large,
Probably
and,
the ordinance, so.
yeah, I don't,
The town will, if you don't do it, they will eventually chase you down because they have done that for other businesses.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
We have to stop.
I know, any other,
Yeah, the collector taxes in the assessor's office.
any other comments from the public? Do we have a motion on this?
The
Want to
motion
frame it?
to,
Extend it? Grant the extension to the condition?
you're the way you want to direct it?
Yeah, motion to provide a one-year extension, conditional upon receipt of the schedule
Of a detailed, somewhat detailed autograph type schedule.
Any discussion on that motion? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed. Okay.
And just for clarity, that condition is the submittal of it. You're planning to have another
No.
meeting to discuss it? Just make sure we get it
No.
into your record.
We need
Just
an appropriate schedule.
For the record, we're not
You know,
holding you up.
if we don't, if it's Christmas and we don't see any steel, then from us.
You don't need to be coming, but really, if December 1st comes around and that steel's not up, I don't want to see you.
It will be up.
And
Okay.
just so you
Or
know,
these are theirs.
we have gotten a lot of complaints about this site.
That's why
So this
Carla
is-
mentioned it.
Yeah, so I mean, this is why we're here and why we're asking these questions. We want to see it finished, but at the same time, we're getting pressure for you to do things appropriately.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know, how much time do you think this will take? We do that first and then get into public
We
hearing?
should take some too long, to mention the public hearing and say what this is.
So we have public hearing with you all, but we want to get through these issues here so that we can devote more time to what are your concerns. And so we do have one other issue, which is Mr. Houlihan's proposal on Route 1 to build a yoga studio, etc. So I appreciate it. So give us a quick summary of where you've been, where your facility is now, and what you want to accomplish here.
Thank you. So, there's been a yoga healing center in Byfield Village located right across from the library since 2004. My wife and I have operated and owned it since 2009, living with the 4 kids. We offer yoga, meditation, and complementary programs for adults and children. The programs range from 2 to 4 events or yoga classes a day, 7 days a week. We begin as early as 6 a.m. in the morning and by 8:30 at night. And we service the average of 20 students a day. So that's our existing business. What we're looking to do is there's a 34,000 square foot lot at 76 Port Turnpike. I'll show you some pictures of that. It's the big one. And we're proposing to put a rustic style.
Is it an empty lot?
It's an empty lot right now.
Okay, here's the, all the ski thing. This is north, right? Am I right?
North is,
Yeah.
yes. So this was a plan that was done by the property owner, Heather Paul, and for improved septic design, they did back in 2006. And this was a proposed house. So if you look at the second page of the handout that I gave you this page, let's flip that around.
You're gonna rotate that.
We're
house
relocating
90
the
and
house
slide it
on the lot, putting in parking. The septic system will be here.
And what size structure will
The
this be?
barn, the main barn will be 30 by 50, and then there's 2 15 by 20 bumps off the side. Rental spaces.
For residential or? for-
No, for like a
Commercial.
psychiatrist or,
Okay.
you know,
Businesses.
person or massage.
Oh, okay, so hold on. So you'll occupy 1,500 square feet for the yoga studio?
We'll occupy this. So we'll occupy 3,000 square feet
3,000 on 2 floors.
on 2 floors.
If you show the plans, that might be,
Yeah,
And then adjacent will be
Jason would be.
the other rental property, other rental units.
Yeah,
And-
1,200 square feet. So if you go to, there's actually some floor layouts that show what the first and second floor would look like. Schematic. That would be the view from Route 1.
Do you remember what the kickoff square footage is for the MS4? 'Cause this is in the MS4, I believe.
it is in MS4, I thought we keep on busy.
Is it an acre? I think you're right, I wasn't sure.
Right,
Of disturbance,
right.
right, not an acre of property, but an acre of
Yeah,
disturbance.
Disturbance, the property itself is under an acre, it's 34,000 square feet.
Okay, so it won't.
Just out of curiosity, when you cited this, you're not really citing it on this, towards the street, you're citing it to the side of the street.
Yeah, so it'll be decided
Right.
He's facing north.
So why do you want to do that?
The aesthetics of the lot.
No wetlands on the site.
Oh, as you drive up the driveway.
Yeah, originally what I was thinking was actually the bumps here, so we actually.
Okay, if he stays away from this,
Okay, so actually from down here, you probably don't see much.
You see maybe the second floor.
I think you see, because it's so,
If you're
yeah.
standing right here-
So this is all based on your being able to drive up here and you, okay, that's
Yes.
fine.
Yeah.
Got it.
And that's the only access that you, without major.
Right,
This is
right.
15-foot ledge right there.
Right.
that drops down.
Okay. Okay.
So that's really the only access. There's an existing curb cut that was there.
You'll have a sign down here someplace or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, a sign, either here or here, somewhere.
It's kind of like the holistic place, because it's way up and you really can't see much of it.
That's across the street.
Right.
The Civic Center is
And-
diagonally across the street.
Diagonally.
The Harmony place is directly across the street.
They're both difficult to see from the road.
Yeah,
so-
this will be,
But that gives you some, so buffs the sound. That's
Yes.
what I'm looking for.
Buffer. And so the tenant that you'd be looking for would be like a professional tenant who's not dependent
So
upon
it
hotel
would be,
or something
we
like
want,
that?
yeah, we want something that's complementary to the services that we provide, so hearing, yoga,
Massage therapy.
massage therapy,
Okay.
psychotherapy.
Well, I like the building.
So this is less than 40,000 square feet, right?
Right, and Sam has made a determination, it was pre-existing, so it's grandfathered.
Oh, good. All
Yeah,
right.
he's written a
That was the
letter to
first
that.
thing.
Yeah, he's written a letter to that, so that's all set. That was one of the first things we needed to describe.
Very wonderful.
And so he's in under the aegis of special permit or site plan?
It's site plan review, and also it's in the water supply protection district, so we need to get a special permit from the select.
And
The
that's
parking
right, it's a
triggers
joint,
the same.
isn't it a joint
It
meeting?
would be a joint meeting,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's new construction, just new construction.
It's
It's just, everything he's doing triggers, site plan.
Mike, you're really close to the 100-foot buffer zone.
Yes.
Thing. Are you talking to Doug?
I have been talking to
You
Doug.
might want to give some thought to getting that one taken care of now.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna get any easier.
Right.
If
I think
if
we're
you
gonna
think
have,
you're ever gonna use that, you're,
I think we're gonna have to get in there because I think for the engineers that I talked to for the stormwater management piece of this, they're gonna probably have to get into that buffer zone. And even potentially during the construction of the driveway. So we're prepared to do that.
I think you're better off doing it now than waiting till the rules are substantially more difficult. to
Okay.
do.
Martha, have you seen anything that stands out that you're concerned about?
I've had a lot of discussions with Mike, and we've met with Doug and Sam several times. I think the next step would really be to get some engineering to see if this schematic layout can really work with the topography and all of that stuff.
So Doug's seen this
Doug
already?
has seen it, Sam has
Okay.
seen it, yes, we've had several meetings with the, and also with his architect and contractor.
I'm only asking because it's a small, tight site, and you're so close to all these buffer zones
Right.
that you don't want to go ahead and spend too much money, and you already know there's issues.
Right.
So that's why
Right.
I'll make sure that you get those guys.
And one of the reasons I thought it would be helpful for Mike to meet with the board now is if there are any things that, on seeing this kind of schematic plan, if there are any things that you're particularly concerned about that you want to make sure are included in the site plan review application.
I think I love the way that you laid out the building,
I
where
think
it's
it
not right
works.
up there.
I think it works.
It's nice.
And I want to, my goal is to create something like, a bunch of water raising, you look for the whole life, and that's how you build it. I want to build something.
It'd be better if it was just closer to the street, but I can see how you can't have that.
Why do you think it'd be better to see it?
Just because you can see, because I think it's a nice looking building
Oh, for advertising.
for
Or
advertising.
advertising?
Yeah, for advertising. So, think about it. And if that works, that's fine. Any, we've been informal, but George, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, where is your new well?
The new well is going to be right here.
There we go.
Yeah.
Looks like a very nice one.
And Martha, our next step is what, as a board?
Well, it's really Mike's next step. and
He's
He's
got
got to
submittal.
get the engineering done and, get a submittal together. Do you have, I know your engineering is just kind of getting started, do you have any sense right now of what your timeline might
I
be?
do, actually. I brought this just to talk about, but I do this with you. I'm hoping to get a site plan application submitted by Thanksgiving.
Ooh, wonderful.
Ideally, I really wanted to get a septic system well on foundation and machine it by Thanksgiving.
So you're looking really to start next year?
Start this spring.
This spring.
Yeah, spring.
Great.
If I could start paying this one down.
Do you want to?
Financing an issue for you? No? Yeah.
Well, you're gonna,
Interest
I've
rates
I've
are,
gone through that.
interest rates are going down.
Do you want to mention what Kev said to you about the?
Yeah, so I was very pleased to hear that the existing septic design is going to work for this property. And I contacted the state to validate that what we were doing was going to exceed the 330 gallons a day. Yeah, and so we did that based on water use records from our existing business. And-
Actual.
Actuals, yeah, so she said that, as far as she's concerned, we could put that septic system right now for this use.
Great.
So,
Like,
I can do that.
Do what?
Put a septic system in that, and right after it all, like.
You're gonna wanna
No,
wait.
you
You're
wouldn't
gonna
wanna do
wait.
that.
It's usually,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
regardless of the permits, it's usually not a good idea to put the septic system in first. Because what happens is everybody drives everything over and makes a mess of it. You know, you better, that should be close to last,
Okay.
Right.
just from a practical
Right.
sense.
And I think if you want the engineer to integrate that into the rest of the site.
The other, it's very small detail, way down the line is, signage. You're gonna wanna have an idea of what you're doing for
Sure.
signage, especially where there's multiple businesses.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
good sign. I think you're gonna need it,
Yeah.
because you just, anyway.
And just so you know, the same thing that they're having to deal with is, traffic, lighting, noise, those are things, obviously noise shouldn't be a yoga, but those are the things you have to deal with.
So the abutter here is the people who are selling the property, and I've spoken to these two direct abutters, and they're happy that it's going to be a passive use, and it's something that they know is giving them, so. Good.
Okay,
Good luck.
good luck. We'll look forward to getting the application.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
It's a rare evening, three businesses are not on the same road.
I'm on the same road.
You guys want these, or?
We have this, I think that's fine.
Would you like to see your
Oh, you
copies?
can have that.
You
Is Meridian going to do the engineering? Or you got
Meridian's
somebody
not
else?
going to do anything, Bob Grasso is going to do it.
Bob will do it.
I'll give this one a proposal in the next,
Is that?
I'll give this one a proposal in the next week.
reopen the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting you.
Coming in.
Good luck. Okay. So now we're going to continue the public hearing that we had on the 17th of September. With TW Excavating out of Rowley, with a proposal to acquire and reuse property owned by Pritchard. We, the board, with the proposed users, did a subsequent walk of the property 1 week later on the 24th of September. We did think that some of the butters was in there that weren't.
Yeah, so I actually got back and found a voicemail from Marie Beckman, and she wasn't able to be there. She had three of the other butters.
But no one,
And she was aware of this
but
evening.
she's aware of tonight as
Well,
well.
they were there when the continuation.
Okay, all right. So, but that walk was very fruitful, I think, for us. And it showed us a lot of information, and we made a number of comments at that meeting. So maybe we'll just wait for you to maybe see what you've done based on both the initial meeting we had here, and then the walk
Okay.
around and see what you guys have come up with.
Well, I think, I guess the record comment on it, the comments from that incorporated. I think the main thing is that, the big thing to us was the abutters and the concern of the abutters. And then when we had that site walk out there, I think the worst case for the abutters is that you're looking at a loam pile. We brought the flatbed out there, we showed the height of the flatbed, and those would be parked in this area. And if you remember, this was the only area that you could actually see the houses from was when we walked. We came through here and then we were standing here and looking across at the couple houses over there, that one garage and the two dwellings.
I could actually see from two locations, but it's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the biggest point of view was through here. So they'd be looking at the loam pile would be the worst case they would see. Based on, again, the flatbed that we brought out to the site, you can see that that's no less than 4 feet tall. So,
So let me just carry on what Kathleen just said. I think you're right, the area to the, let's say to the south, although you could see a home up in there, it seemed based on you bringing the flatbed out.
right,
We didn't jump up, that wasn't.
right, there was one home that was
One home way in the
way
distance,
over
right?
there, yeah.
But the area behind the structure, where you were gonna basically keep a lot of the trucks.
Right
It
here.
seemed to me those were gonna be visible.
Well, the trucks will be visible.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think worst case is gonna be the winter time, obviously, once the leaves are gone. You know, there was still leaves on some of the trees when we were out there, obviously, so, yeah, I think, you know, in some parts of the year, they'll be seeing trucks. But I think that the worst case, you know, is, at the worst time of the year is gonna be the, you know, the most they're gonna see is a long line. And, you know, if they look out their windows in the summertime, the worst case, you know, you're gonna see more. So from that, and I think from the sidewalk, one to talk about, this is what's on this plan as well that I just handed out, is we talked about, you know, trying to get some flow through the sites. So what I've shown is just some flow arrows. So obviously we have an entry point, which will be 2 ways. And then as you come through the site, so the trucks, to try to reduce the backup lights, backup beacons. They'll come in, kind of take a right through the site, and come around and go out. So, you know, the trucks that come in for either the pickup or drop off the loan will go here, then the trucks that come around and go in the trailer parking area will go here. So I think that's what makes the most sense for the site, is try to contain so that we have one-way traffic. You know, it's probably, most likely that's what the trucks are gonna do anyway, because, you know, you don't wanna back up if you don't have to, so they just pull in, pull around. So they'd be pulling around, you know, those trucks that, you know, the truck storage and machine storage area, so as they're coming around, they'd be pulling in as well for the night.
What about over on the side of the gravel, stone, and loam storage?
Yeah, how do you?
Over here?
How do you get through that?
He just explained that.
Yeah, they'll have to come around, they'll probably,
No.
they'll back in or pull in and back out, depending on how they're being loaded. So, you know, they're just gonna be backing up. I mean, you
There's
can't,
no way I wouldn't. Yeah.
there's no way of backing it up. You can't 100% avoid it. I think with a one-way route around the site, I think we can eliminate, you know, a lot of it.
Well, I guess one of the questions we had was, in terms of an operation and maintenance plan, was, aside from this direction of traffic in and out, what other things are you thinking of in order to mitigate against the noise impact?
That is all really we have. I mean, we can't think of anything else that we can do that's gonna impact, to try to reduce the noise. I mean, there's,
So one of the requests came from the abutters, correct me if I was wrong. Someone mentioned a fence, someone mentioned some plantings, was that correct?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
the
that's
question
the
was,
impression I had also.
so the question was, were you considering adding anything to address those concerns?
well, I think that, you know, the way we looked at it is a lot, nobody came to the sidewalk. And we actually reached out to them as well. Jesse and I actually drove down some of the driveways to talk to some of the people. And we really didn't get much feedback other than that one meeting. So we've left the side basically, other than the operation plan of the, you know, circular traffic route, we haven't proposed anything for, I don't think a fence. You know,
I think
what's a fence?
I think a minimum cost, though, would be just planting a few trees. That may help. I don't, that's just I'm one board member, but I mean,
Yeah.
that was one of the requests, was just having some trees planted. It's a small cost, just to put a couple back.
My concern is that the abutters left here thinking there was going to be a buffer on the rear of some sort. It was not well defined, but there was something, as Kathleen said. And I think if they left here with that impression, we're kind of remiss if it doesn't happen.
I would agree with you to a point, but if they were super concerned, they should have the sidewalk.
Don't underestimate the fact that someone's not here.
Yeah, no, but
So
the question is like, is
I
5
understand the
trees or
expense
6 or
of
7
the
trees?
sound barrier highway wall.
Yeah.
I understand that is not practical, that I would not ask that. But if someone asks whether or not you can plant a couple trees, it's really a minor expense overall to appease the
I agree,
neighbors.
so what do you consider a couple trees? I mean,
More than 2.
all right, so if you put 3, honestly, 3 trees,
I'm not talking 3.
What are we talking?
I said a couple.
I don't know yet.
That was just one.
One of the things I wanted to do was, I was in my head, these are 45 arborvitae that you're.
It's actually, I think, 42.
42.
Yeah.
And those, at 5 feet high, those are 2 feet around. And so I was trying to figure out the length that you're covering those trees. And I'm just trying to add it up here. You know what the frontage is of the property?
Yeah, it's about it's over 700 feet.
All right,
720.
so 700 feet
128.
and throwing 42 arborvitaes at that. The 42 arborvitaes take up 90 feet. That's it. They take up 2 feet, and they're 4 feet high, and they make no impact whatsoever. And because you've got 720 feet, and you're taking up 90, so you're doing basically 10% of the site. So
Well, that was the two different, that was to address the
that's this
aesthetics
one.
of
No,
the
no,
front though,
I'm-
right?
Yeah, I'm getting to that.
I'm trying to follow up. Okay.
So I'm saying, I think that the front planting is substantially inadequate. And needs to be rethought. And I think that, I don't know what the right answer is for here, because I don't think it's a line here. Because I think it's wherever the homes are located, so it's spotty. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you have to have,
Why couldn't you just?
you know, a whole line of, if it's 800 feet, I think that would be wrong. But it seems to me that we know there's homes in this area up in here, and so maybe if you had, strategically placed some trees up in here and then some strategically placed trees up in here, that might begin to address the concerns that the neighbors have.
I think the board should discuss that
Yeah.
as a board before we give the direction for lines. Did you hear what John just said?
That,
John was just saying that, why don't you repeat what you were recommending, just so.
Well, I wasn't recommending, I was just saying that you need, I don't know what I think that what my observation is that 42 trees in the front, which take up such a small amount of space, seems to be inadequate to me. That I think that once you put them in there, they're going to be lost.
Fragmenting the taller.
you got about 5, they're about on 5 feet on center, right? You got 800 feet of trees roughly.
Right, and you have
And
42
there's 40
trees.
of them.
And you have 40 trees. It's just,
So are you saying in the front,
20
what are
feet.
you saying that you'd like to see there?
yeah,
That's
so you
20
get
feet.
20 feet,
yeah.
now, so it's just not, it's not a,
Yeah, 2 feet out of
They're
20.
15
not
feet
a-
on center.
yeah.
So are you saying that you want to see more coverage?
I want more coverage
On the
in the
front?
front. Yeah,
Taller or,
well, I'd like
width?
both, but I don't want to push them because we want the business. It's just a question of what's going to make an impact and what's not going to make an impact, and I don't think that 42 trees on 720 linear feet makes an impact.
Well, think of it as 42 trees, 15 feet on center. I mean, that's a lot of trees. I would venture to say,
I think it's a combination of the type of tree too, but, so we'll just start with the front before we go with the back then,
Yeah.
okay? As a board, let's not start, let's just us discuss what we'd like to see to give direction. So, are you agreeing with Mr. Weiss that you would like to see
Well,
more
not-
phragmites, or what would you like? Are you talking about height? What are you talking about here? Are
Not
we talking
really,
aesthetics?
I think that, there's no way this is not gonna look like a contractor's yard. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with a contractor's yard in a business and light industrial area. That's,
Well, we can explain why. We already talked about that before as a board. We talked about how we're trying to encourage
No,
other
I
type of
understand that,
businesses,
yeah.
and that we don't wanna, we're trying to
Yeah.
beautify it somewhat, so that's why we're
Yeah.
trying to looking at something
Yeah.
a little bit.
well, I don't have strong feelings one way or the other, but I would not object to what he's got here on the front. I do think that we've got a credibility issue with the neighbors, whether or not they showed up at the sidewalk. I think we've got an obligation to what I got from watching the video was, yeah, we're gonna do something about it. You got to say
So,
that.
so let's just, before, I don't wanna get to the back
Okay,
yet, because I
okay.
wanna at least get to the front so we can go somewhere. So, George, what is your view on this? I'm running your meeting, I'm sorry.
My view would be to put some buffer in the back on the northern.
Nope, stay in the
side.
front only.
Stay in the front only?
Only. Let's
And
get through this one.
This is not enough coverage.
So I guess the question is John O'Connell thinks that it's fine. You would like to see something more screening, and you'd like to see more screening.
Yes.
I personally, I don't really am so much concerned with the screening because you have these phragmites there in the front that are so thick and so tall anyways. I'd like to see it beautified maybe by the entrance or something, or maybe something that comes over taller, but that doesn't concern me so much. So, you're not gonna see them, the phragmites, so why does it matter?
Well, the phragmites may not always be there.
So if they get cut down, you're
Right.
saying that they'll be there?
I mean, if all of a sudden the phragmites aren't there, then you go to fence. So you just don't know. Phragmites are more temporal than the trees. That's all. I agree with you on the phragmites. They're there, but in the winter they kind of go.
So we're still undecided right now, so we didn't give you any directions yet for the front. For the back, you suggested what in the back?
I don't think it's a wall like they have here, but I think that selectively place some trees in through here makes some sense.
I agree with John. I don't think it's a wall of phragmites. I think we're looking at planting some trees that give it height, and even though
Everybody.
there might be, arborvitaes, that, what do you think?
What you're doing by doing that is buffering the noise from the front yard and also vacuum space and refilling with loam and so on. So it's this northern part that would be buffered. I'm not worried about that.
Well, we
I
have
don't
houses
think-
here, we have
That's a
houses
buffer
here.
noise.
You're not gonna
Most of
buffer
the noise-
No, absolutely not.
I'm not sure if it's gonna help on the.
The only thing that's gonna help is the
No, no.
view. I mean, realistically, you know, especially a taller tree is gonna help the noise. It
No.
will help the visual impact.
So
Yeah.
you're okay if you didn't have a wall of
Yep.
trees, but you had clusters of tall ones maybe? What about you?
I'm
You-
sorry. I'd like to do something, and I'm not sure what,
Wait.
because I can't,
If, not having a wall like out front here, but having maybe clusters of tall something,
I
would
think
that be
something
happy?
that's strategically placed so that, I think that relates to where is the house and what's their
That's what I
sight line.
Yes.
Because there's trees on the other side of this line that are doing a certain amount of buffering. So I certainly don't need a row of trees like this.
Right.
But I think a handful,
Martha, do you have any suggestions?
You know, I think that makes sense. I don't see a whole, 800 feet of arborvitae's down there.
no, that would be.
Alright. So I think we're all in agreement on the back of the site, so now it's just the front of the site. Martha, what's your views on the front of the site? Sorry, John.
I don't know, I mean, 5 to 6 foot tall arborvitae's at 15 feet on center is, I don't know, maybe a little straggling.
So, do you wanna?
Can I ask a question? Do we care if it extends the whole length of the frontage? What ends if we put something more at the entrance to beautify the entrance more and left the sides more open? So rather than this line of arborvitae's, we took that money that we're gonna use there and beautify the entrance somewhat, so where you're actually seeing it. Because I think you're right, that, the majority of the season, that Phragmites is much taller than any tree that was planted. But at the entrance is where you kind of see in right now.
And that hits the whole idea of beautifying it.
So that's an interesting idea. And focus on the entryway into here, and then maybe even reduce the total number, and then just selectively put some taller elements.
Right.
Trees. Do you know what I mean?
Rather than making a line, beautify
Forget the
the
line.
entrance and make some clusters.
That'd be okay. That's a good response. It's a good response.
I'm glad I could help.
Yeah, and then, I don't know what you do about the back, but.
When you
Take
say
a look
taller,
at
what do you envision as taller?
I'm personally
Well, if you-
thinking maple trees or something, like something that's gonna grow tall, that
Yeah,
they,
but
they're
it
gonna have.
loses.
But did you hear that gentleman? There was one of the gentlemen that said he realizes that it's not good coverage throughout the year. But he was saying just sometimes a portion of the year, it'd be nice to have the height and that coverage.
And quite honestly, the fastest growing thing you can plant would be poplars if you can find them.
Yep.
And, in 5 years, they'll be 20 feet tall, and they don't cost a nickel.
Right.
So, I mean, what do you think?
Except they don't last very long.
Well, they'll last 25 years, they'll last,
I'll be gone, bro.
They're not bad, they're not bad. But a poplar is a good response for a fast-growing deciduous tree. No, I mean, we're also, it's the appropriate kind of response for the kind of use. You know, I think that concentrating things along here, throwing poplars, I mean, 5 or 10 poplars located strategically in 5 years will make an impact.
We have to address the back of the site because the neighbors requested it, and it's not a huge cost, so just planting some trees, and switching the money over that way.
So we want to try to make a decision tonight, though, so I don't want to make it too contingent on, so how specific do we have to be on the rear and the plan that we asked for a landscape plan that we submitted. We make a decision with, subject to a landscape plan for our approval.
Yeah, and that could be one of the conditions. Again, I just,
Is something like that be okay with you guys, that because we want to approve you guys?
Yep.
So if we made a decision that it's approved contingent upon a landscape plan based on the discussion we've just had,
Right.
bunching it up at the entryway, putting some higher things along the line.
So we'll come back in and just deal with the landscape.
Just deal with the landscape, or
That
submit it.
could be this plan, could it not? I don't think you need a separate plan.
No, I think what we'll do is maybe bring it to Corliss or somebody like that and get some ideas from them. and-
Well, yeah, but it could all go in this drawing.
Oh, yeah,
not
yeah,
just
we'll go in this-
our-
Oh, yeah, yeah,
our new
yeah.
drawing.
Right,
John, would white pine make any sense too? It grows.
white pine grows faster,
Very fast.
Right.
and it's cheap. I mean, we're just trying to, yeah,
Right.
white pine, and you can buy it, it's not expensive.
You understand what we're trying to address, we're not,
Yeah,
not something.
that stays all year, it pushes out good, it stays all year.
Yeah, no, that's a good response too.
Yeah.
So white pine and poplars and stuff like that,
Okay.
it all grows fast.
Now,
And that makes sense in the back, I don't think it makes that much sense in the front, but, because you want your business to be seen.
Right. Right, and really, right now, when you drive by, you look, the most you see is through the entrance.
Yeah, and so, doing the landscaping, concentrating around the entrance, and then coming up with maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 plants on either, further down, as you
Yep.
just discussed, I think would be a good idea.
Okay.
Martha, do you have any comments?
with regard to the trees.
Anything?
No comments, we did get a revised letter from Chief Pearson, which basically removed the requirement saying that they couldn't park vehicles in the building overnight. So, I have that here.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. So I got copies, actually, two photos. What's the status on your Conservation Commission submission?
Next Wednesday is the meeting.
You're advertised for next Wednesday?
Yes. Yep. Because I guess Tuesday is voting.
Tuesday is a town
Special-
meeting.
Town meeting.
Special town meeting, yeah.
Do any of us have any comments on the traffic operations?
No, that makes sense.
I don't think that traffic's gonna be an issue with this kind of an operation. No, nobody will ever notice. Yeah.
That was to address
You
the
come, you
concerns.
go, you know.
That was to address the concerns of the neighbors.
Right.
That's what that was
Something
for.
like that,
They're trying to reduce the, the noise of the
yeah. Yep.
trucks backing up. Did you do a mock-up of the sign?
Well, I thought we left that, you guys were gonna look into the zoning on the sign, the size and stuff that we were able to.
I think the data,
In the minutes, it says that a mock-up would be provided.
I think, what we talked about was that you were going to use the existing sign and reface it, so I think we were expecting to see.
Also,
Yeah,
we weren't on the
actually-
same page, like, cause her and I were
Yeah.
talking about that, we thought we were gonna get something, I thought we had a discussion about that it was too small.
When we looked at the sign, you guys had said that the existing sign was small for what would be allowed in that zoning, and that, I can't remember which one of you was gonna look into what size we could use. And then I
It was,
haven't
this,
heard
the existing
anything.
one was too small, you should be complaining it's too big. So you're saying that you said it was too
No,
small?
one of
No,
you
that's
guys
a-
said that it
that's
was a small sign
Yeah,
It's 4
for,
by 8. it's the current
Yeah,
signs.
well, that's why we didn't have something made up, because we thought we were waiting for a,
Oh,
And I don't,
I don't like that.
I don't.
I'm not the sign expert.
I'll look
I
into the
would just
sign
say that-
bylaw and figure out what size.
Just show us what you can do.
Yep.
but could we make that contingent also that we'll, approve sign, obviously, that, for you guys?
Yes. So all of the, just from my question to you, Martha, is that all of the submittal information was complete?
Yes.
And so there's no issue there. And, okay. And this is not a project that you request any kind of performance guarantee, am I right?
I wouldn't think so.
No.
No, it's an existing site.
Board members have any other questions?
Would it be a condition approval based upon Concom's decision?
Is
I'm
it
good with that.
conditioned on Concom?
And if there's anything that Concom requires, it's different from what the board has
Right.
agreed to, then you have to
Well,
come back
Come back.
and amend it or something.
Any members of the public like to have a discussion of this?
I just wanna make sure that there's anything we've discussed tonight that you have a problem with, that's,
Right.
any, that,
Are
you
there
know, like,
any-
we've kinda changed some, so I wanna make sure.
Everything okay?
Yeah, everything's fine. I'm confused on that sign myself too, because we really were gonna work within that
Just,
footprint of what was
just
there.
work with, that's all we thought you were gonna do, I guess. we
Yeah.
just
Yeah, no,
didn't-
Jamie and I were on a different page than you guys, that's all. We should have followed up with that. 'cause
I think it was just a, what are you gonna put in there?
We just wanna see if it was tracked.
Yeah, that's easy, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah.
get some stuff, I'll have our guy draw some stuff up and get it to you.
All right, so can someone form a,
Well, actually,
what do we do here?
because of timelines, once the decision is made, it's going to have to be filed within 14 days. We still need to draft a decision. And I would suggest that the board actually go through the findings, the decision criteria in the site plan review.
One by one, go down it.
And see if there are any other conditions that you want to do. And
All right.
direct me to draft the decision.
Do you have copies for us to look at, since we haven't done this?
Site plan review is right on your book, 103. Or should be.
No, but I think that,
So basically, on this, pages 97, 111, and 112, have the decision criteria and conditions of,
so we go to 6, decision criteria, A through,
N is on this, no, A through N,
A through N.
right, and some of them are applicable.
Okay, so let's just go through that, okay. So I'm gonna read this, so the planning board shall approve an application for site plan review if it finds that the applicant has submitted sufficient information from which it can determine that the proposed project will, A, minimize the volume of cut and fill, the number of removed trees 6-inch caliber or larger, the area of wetland vegetation displaced, soil erosion, the threat of air, water pollution, and traffic congestion. So in terms of A, does anyone have any?
The only things that apply are number 4 and number 6, and those have been addressed.
I think they've been addressed too. John, do you have any?
No.
Okay. So A is okay. B, avoid removal of existing stone walls or removal is required. That's not applicable. Provide adequate stormwater management and other utilities consistent with the requirements of the Newbury Stormwater Bylaw and the Planning Board subdivision rules and regulations.
Oh, they're not changing,
We're not changing the site.
impervious surface. I think that's an unlawful
Okay?
sentence.
Maximize safety for pedestrians and vehicles both on the site and entering onto and egressing from it. I think they've done that. Right? E, provide adequate access to each structure for fire and emergency service equipment. They've done that.
Not a problem.
Well,
Minimize
that
it.
contingent on the letter,
We got the letter.
they have
Got the
to,
letter.
they have done with letters though, right?
No, they got.
What the request from the new letter, did they request them to do something additional because they're storing vehicles inside?
They did request it, and they just deleted that requirement.
This part right here,
The knockbox system would be required to house keys for emergency access.
that's
That
not
was there,
new.
that was there before.
Oh, okay, I thought that was new.
Okay? So anyway, the point is that the fire emergency has issued what they require. And they're aware of it, right?
Yep.
F, minimize obstruction of scenic views in publicly accessible locations. That's what we just did. Minimize visual intrusion by controlling the visibility of parking, storage, or other outdoor services areas viewed from public ways or premises residentially used or zoned. That's exactly what we just did. Minimize intrusion of glare from headlights and site lighting on surrounding properties. And so we can say that your transportation plan or the access plan does that. Minimize unreasonable departure from the character, materials, and scale of building or percent. That's not appropriate. Prevent contamination of groundwater from any source. That's not an issue there. Enhance the appearance of the property to the greatest degree possible by means of landscaping and other site amenities. Minimize impacts of the use on adjacent properties through regulation of hours of operation, deliveries, noise, rubbish removal, and on-site storage. So, actually, that's an issue that in your operations and maintenance plan, can you control that in any way? Deliveries and things like that?
Well, deliveries would happen during normal business hours, yeah, as far as that is. The thing we can't control is snowstorms, things like that, as far as the hours of operation.
We could write it in there though that,
Just be done through the normal hours of operation, right?
For deliveries,
no, I guess what it is we've discussed here that your normal business hours, not including plowing,
Seven to four,
is
something like
basically
that.
daytime, 7 to those hours.
7 to 5?
And that's what,
We usually, like we talked about before, our trucks usually leave, 4 or 5 in the morning. So
I
that,
think you're talking about deliveries, I guess.
oh, deliveries into the yard, yeah. Equipment leaving would be before that, but yeah, I mean, there wouldn't really be anything taking place in the yard before
oh, so
that.
there's some fours, so it's earlier, so we can't write that in. I was gonna write in the hours, but it's not that.
Right.
So originally there was something written in, I think it was the meeting minutes for the hours of operation. Did you read that earlier?
Well, I thought,
I thought it was 7 to 3. Where would we have seen that?
It was in the meeting minutes that I read today.
yeah, it was 3 to 5 in the afternoon, 3 to 5, I think, in the afternoon.
is when I think when the trucks come back in.
So how early do you have to have access to say?
Well, we would, I mean, like we talked about before, we would say we were gonna access the site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I thought that was just for plowing.
Well, I mean, that
So
our,
this is the thing is we're, normally, if you weren't if you weren't plowing,
yeah,
we would restrict you to certain hours.
okay,
And like you had to do for another business.
Yeah.
Where we don't wanna hear, neighbors call up and complain about the backing up noises around town.
yeah,
So we have to restrict to certain hours.
okay,
So, like, we don't want you in there at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, every day backing up. If
No,
that's
I
what
mean,
you're
that's-
doing, then we need to know. So right now, we're writing in here that we discussed with you, and your operating hours are what we discussed. So if you
Right.
change them, not the plowing one, do you understand what I meant?
The other thing is they do emergency repairs, so water line breaks, things like that, they get called out. That could be 2 or 3 in the morning.
So,
well, that's why, that's why I made sure I made it clear to the abutters too, I mean, it's not, are we gonna be there all the time at 2 o'clock in the morning? Absolutely not, but I mean, there's gonna be a time when they'll hear us at some point,
No, no, our trucks that start up and leave, but they're not making any more noise than the traffic's already on Route 1. They don't back up to, they drive out.
I'm not looking at you like I'm disappointed, I'm looking at how to handle this, because we have to somehow address this, and I don't know how to do that at this point. Do you have any
Right.
suggestions?
But I thought we had a long discussion about that, this is like I explained.
We have to write a
now.
special permit though. We
Right.
have to actually write in there.
So
We don't
if-
know what we're writing now because we don't wanna restrict you from being able to operate.
Right, yeah, well, that's what I'm asking, so there has to be hours of operation?
Well, I can't answer that.
Because I see what you're saying, you can't say typically they won't be there, but they get a hall pass if,
Like I was thinking of writing something for exception for snow plowing, but now I can't do that
No,
because
there's more than
there's
snow
more.
plowing.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying, now we can't do that because that's not.
Right, yeah.
And you made that clear to the neighbors early on the first meeting.
Right.
Oh,
They understood.
that's why I tried to make it very
can't do
clear, I
that.
didn't wanna be the guy that said, hey, don't worry, you won't hear anything
He
from
was
us.
very honest when he said that.
And then have him come over and go, what did you say?
I guess the question is, I understand what he's telling us,
Yeah?
but again, like he leaves the room, does complete opposite, we have no enforcement. And that's what the concern is gonna be. Do you understand? Like, you're telling us one thing, and I believe you that that's how you would operate. However, you could go ahead and do completely opposite and run your business 24 hours a day, multiple trucks, and now we don't have any enforcement here. So we have to figure out how we're gonna write this.
What time do you guys leave in the morning?
Well, I mean, usually, you know,
Like the
it
trucks, I know.
It could be
There's
any-
there's one that leaves, or can leave early. Most of them are heading out between 6:30, and we grab our stuff, go to work.
Five.
So is
that what the
5 limiting you,
start?
realistically?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it
yeah.
is limiting you.
right.
And he is conscientious, because he leaves right over there in Boxer Road, and we don't get any complaints. He goes out,
Oh, it has
Yeah.
nothing, again, it's just
Yeah.
writing
Do we
it.
have any files on Angela's property?
You know, in all due respect, I'm Dave Pritchard, in the little town here in Newbury. I was there from 1979 till, I was there like 35 years, long before the neighbors even showed up. And the neighbors, with all due respect, should have come over here, gone to the office right there and asked, what was that truck terminal zoned for? You know, to buy a house in the backyard of a truck terminal or an airport, with all due respect, you know. And my truck's back at 4 o'clock in the morning every day, and they come back at sometimes, you know, Sunday morning, Sunday nights, whatever. I mean, not that it's grandfathered in, but
No, I understand what you're saying. It
you know,
is, it's appropriate zoning for the business.
it wasn't a rose garden to start, you know.
Well, we didn't put in anything, I don't think, for the bus company. Originally, we were going to, but we had an issue with the field trips coming back late,
Right,
off
I
hours,
remember that.
so we ended up taking it out. So maybe this
I don't
is the
think we
thing.
did it for
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean it doesn't set
I know.
precedent. So I think that it's a similar thing that if we don't put it in, it would be similar to the bus company where they have their normal hours that operate, you know, during picking up children and dropping them off, but you have these other hours that kind of decide.
Yeah, justifiable exceptions,
Yes.
Right.
something along that line.
So, I mean, is there anything that you could set as normal hours when there aren't emergencies?
Well, again, we don't wanna tell you something that we're gonna not comply with, you know what I
No,
mean?
but I mean, a normal day when there's nothing unusual is happening, it's not snowing, you don't have a crisis. What I heard was that you're starting up and moving out somewhere between 5 and 6.
Yeah, if everything went just right and everybody was on time and where they were supposed to be, there might be one low bed truck that left, you know, in the morning, typically in the 5 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
Most of the guys get to work, you know, 6:30, usually leave, or, you know, 6:30, usually leave around then. And they usually are back between, you know, 5 and 6, the latest 7, you know, most of the time.
Well, I'm gonna propose that we say 6 to whatever in the afternoon as normal hours, subject to occasional departure of a lowboy delivering equipment at 5, and any kind of an emergency such as a snowstorm, a water main break, you know, the things that you have to respond to and you can't possibly schedule.
I don't have a problem bumping that down to 5 AM.
I was gonna say, can we bump that back to?
Because they're
5
saying it's
a.m.
5, they're saying
Yeah,
it's 5.
I would think it should be at least 5, not 6.
Well, that's when Jamie just brought up a good point, you know, all winter long, those trucks are leaving about 4 o'clock in the morning when they go into Boston, you know, all salt. So there's 4 and 5 dump trailers that are leaving at 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, let me ask you a question. Now, is there a bylaw, you know, where this is a commercial district, the light industrial on Route 1 that says that we have to have an hour of operation?
No, what it is you're asking for a special permit, and we're gonna grant to you.
Yeah, that's,
Right, but the special permit doesn't fall, that falls under the,
Yes, well,
so the thing we just read, for example, says, make sure that the project enhances the appearance of the property to the greatest degree possible by means of landscaping and minimizes the impacts of the use of adjacent properties through the regulation of hours of operation, deliveries, noise, rubbish removal. So we have to be sure that this use is not going to have an adverse effect on that. See, so that's what this regulation says. When Mr. Pritchard first went in, this regulation didn't exist.
And you
That's
didn't-
my guess.
And you didn't have as many vehicles, it sounds like.
I had 7 truck tractors, and bottom line there too, my trucks made a lot more noise than their trucks ever will.
Yeah.
I mean, in the 80s, they
Well,
were trucks that made
The
noise and,
I understand.
point is, I mean, we're trying to, we want this to happen, nobody wants it not to happen. Let me ask you this, when you move from Raleigh up to here, will you be establishing new work procedures at all in how you operate because of the size of the site? or will they?
No, because our
basically-
contracts all stay the same.
So everything pretty much stays, so you know,
Right.
so the way that you're gonna run your business pretty well stays the same.
Yeah, for the most part, you know, without, it's hard to tell going down the road what we'll encounter and come up with.
So you don't need to institute new procedures for your people who work for you at all?
No, not really,
Okay.
no.
So I thought maybe they did incorporate that.
How about we just tell it like it is? Normal working hours start out at 6. That there will be occasional situations where you will have equipment leaving at 4.
But it's not gonna be,
I
their
think it's not
normal is,
occasional.
their normal
sounds
is
like
4.
4.
Right.
Am I right?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Not in winter, yeah, yeah,
So normal is 4.
yeah.
So let's say 4.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not like, knowing, you know, that's a truck that's gonna start until it has enough air to leave, it's gonna drive
just-
out.
If we
Yeah.
write this down, we don't want anybody saying, if someone calls and complains, they'll say, oh yeah, they're allowed to do that. So that's why we're trying to
Yeah,
get
I
this down
don't-
this way.
I mean, them leaving in the winter, they're gonna have their windows closed, they won't even hear them. I don't think they'd ever even hear them going.
I think,
Yeah.
But, so normal hours, could we live with 4? If we put 4 o'clock?
Yeah, I
Oh,
would say
yeah,
that, and
definitely, yeah.
then, but I mean, as long as there's
The occasional,
yeah.
Exception.
whatever, exception for.
like
Yeah.
4 AM
Emergency
to
snow.
5 PM? Is that what
I
it
would
is?
say like
4.
4 AM
4.
to like 6 or 7.
4.
I thought it was 7 last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be about
Yeah.
7.
4 AM to 7 PM.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And again, this is where widening the window, because even though it might be shorter, we just want to give them,
Right, and then.
Right, that's
doesn't-
extreme, that's
Yes.
not, you know, that's not gonna be what every day is. Like I explained to the abutters when they were here, I mean, we wanted to tell them what the worst case scenario was, and so that's what they had in their head, and then have them go, wow, geez, they made it sound way worse than it is.
Is it possible to have them not back up at 4 in the morning?
Oh, absolutely,
won't.
they're
No,
gonna be
they-
pointed,
yeah.
they're gonna stop the truck and drive out the gate. So,
Okay,
yeah.
maybe the
Yeah,
backup
yeah.
alarms will not
so-
work.
So that's the kind of thing I think that we might be looking for. It's that kind of,
well, that's what we had talked about at the sidewalk too, why
Yeah.
those areas.
can't we have that in writing and then we can incorporate that?
Right, so like that flatbed would be back.
So rather than us telling you what to do,
Yeah,
you tell us what you can do and we'll incorporate it in.
yeah, I mean, but you know, you can absolutely put down between
we
the
don't want
hours
to tell you.
4 and
We
7.
want you
and
to
it's
tell
not
us how
gonna
you
be,
want to
know,
operate.
We want you to, like, that's the kind of thing I've been looking for, is that, oh yeah, we'll tell them not to back up in the morning.
Yeah,
So, you know, a list of 10 items about how you're gonna operate this thing to minimize the noise impact at 4 o'clock in the morning would be great, and we can incorporate that into the decision,
And that way you're driving the bus.
okay? Then you tell us
Yeah.
what it is, get it to Martha, and we'll put it in,
okay. Yeah, that's not a problem, then.
all right?
Yeah,
So 4 to 7.
yeah.
No, whatever, forget it 4 to 7 for a second. Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry.
Then determine that.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
You get to us
Sure.
what
Yeah.
you wanna do.
So we won't be able to make a decision.
We can't,
No, we can't.
we can't.
Then also provide with that what you might consider would be justifiable acceptance to the rule.
Yeah.
If there's an emergency, truck repair, things like that.
Right.
Right, so it's getting on, let me just go through the rest of these, that really was helpful. Thank you for that. Ensure compliance with the provisions in the Gray zoning bylaw, including parking and signs. So that we're okay with, and then that's it, and then the conditions of approval, do I need to go through this, Martha? No.
50 to 7.
Well, some of them, like, we've already talked about contingents on Concom
Right.
approval, and they might have to come back.
Yeah, I don't think we need to read through all of this.
A lot of
We have a
this
long
is
list
just
of
law
things, though.
anyway.
Yeah, but these aren't the reasons for the decision, these are different.
Right, but these are conditions that the board could choose to put in the decision.
So, right, anything that we deem necessary to satisfy any of what we just discussed. So we're gonna ask for them to submit that to you, and then you can put it in the decision about really their operation and maintenance procedures. Any construction, reconstruction, alteration, really. Okay. You see anything else that we want in the conditions? No?
Well, I just think we have a longer list than we did before.
Yes,
So I
we
just, Martha, can you read off what we've accumulated over a meeting that we're asking them to submit?
Well, we're asking them to submit the landscape plan. And basically your operations description.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Sort of two-
So you need an O&M plan, a landscape plan, the.
And the sign.
signage.
And you know what, the sign is the least important.
Right, but that's,
The two critical items are the landscape plan and the O&M.
right,
And do it as soon as you can, because what we're gonna do now is that we'll direct Martha to draw up the decision. And then once we have the decision, then we vote on it.
okay.
So it's probable that will not be until 2 weeks from now.
It would be 2 weeks from now, and you would vote to continue the
And then-
public hearing.
And then tonight we continued, that's right, to keep it open,
Right.
because she has to write the decision, so we have nothing to vote, whether it's, we really don't have anything to vote
Right,
on.
we need to
We
submit
can't-
that.
And we're also
data,
waiting
so-
for additional information.
So as you get the information, and then hopefully that's
We're
it.
leaving the meeting open so that I can submit that.
That's right, so you
Correct.
can submit that
And
information.
if I get it soon enough, then I can write it into a draft decision, which can be reviewed.
Yeah, so it sounds like it shouldn't be complicated, but oftentimes, you know, we have different things to do in life. But if you can get right on it, then we can get it right in this thing and get it
Our
right.
next meeting, I
Okay.
think, is 3 weeks, not 2 weeks. Is it not?
It'll be November
Third, no,
3rd,
fifth.
5th, so it is 3
November
weeks.
5th, so I think it will be 3 weeks.
And it will be actually be after the Concom meeting.
Yeah.
Is that okay with you, November 5th? I mean, that's really the best we can do. It's our first meeting in November. But you'll have the decision then.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the appeal period will start.
Right.
Right.
I think I need a motion to direct
Keep the meeting open.
two things, to keep, two things. Let's get the direction to Martha to draft up those 3 conditions as part of the decision, plus the entire decision.
I move both issues.
Okay.
If you pick one.
Second, you've got it, right? You know what it's, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay.
Okay.
And then,
Thank
we
you.
have one more. And then we need a motion to continue the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Second, please.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
To a time and date certain.
To a time and date certain of November the
Fifth.
3rd,
Fifth.
5th,
Fifth.
2014 at 7:15.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys very much.
I wish we could expedite faster.
Might
It's
change
just
my mind,
procedures,
yeah.
sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
I know.
All right. I have a
Yeah, so Martha, there was no way tonight that we were gonna be able to approve this, if everything went smoothly, because you had to write the decision, right? And then
Right.
we'd have to go through it.
Right.
Many conditions.
Have to vote on the decision with conditions, and, you know, that's contingent on.
Did they know that?
additional information. I don't know if they do or not.
So one of the things that I was curious about as I was reviewing the site plan document that you sent out. And in it are new, because I assumed this has been submitted under the new bylaw,
Yes.
because otherwise we wouldn't have caught it, right? Because the old bylaw would have had new construction as the triggering element, right? It's not change of use is what we changed it to, but we don't have the procedures down, or the.
Right, so we're a little bit.
So a little bit of, and in the procedures, it says within 60 days of them first submitting, we will have had a decision. And I don't think we're gonna hit that. Do you know when they first submitted?
I thought it was 60 days to open the public hearing.
What's the name?
60 days for a decision on a level 1. I assume this is a level 1.
Well, it has more than 6 parking spaces.
I
So-
thought it was a level 2.
You thought this was level 2?
Go speak.
I didn't know.
it's a little,
Oh, so then if it's a level 2, then we're okay.
and we've got the special permit procedure.
You're right.
I think it's in
Right,
the
okay. All right, well, that was fun, huh?
I didn't see those.
Did you enjoy that?
Roger, I was just looking at paragraph 8 down here, lapse, and it talks about if there's a modification by the board to extend Angelo's, for example, for an additional year, that has to be done in writing. Do you write him a letter for that?
Well, he has to submit the board,
Yeah.
a letter to the board in writing, which is what we got tonight. And so then there will be a letter, basically, with the
So
board's
notice,
decision to
I
extend
guess
it.
I have to respond to his attorney's letter,
Yeah,
right?
in the soldier's opinion of the planning board, be extended in writing. So it's the board has to write a letter in response to the
Right,
attorney.
so
Yeah.
To this guy.
I was
Barry.
assuming that I would draft it.
Barry Vogel. Okay,
I just happened to see that.
all right, open planning board seats.
Before we go into that,
Yes.
just one thing, I was just gonna comment on that thing with Angelo. The one thing that I think you might have considered doing, I didn't say anything during the time because I didn't think it was appropriate. I like what you did, I mean, in terms of setting up bars and everything, but with this guy's history, let's face it, I mean, you know, there's some questions there. It might be an idea, it might have been an idea, at the end of each quarter, to ask him in writing to submit it to the board, this, and this has been accomplished, this has not been accomplished, and an explanation of why.
Yeah, I think that would be a real good idea. I mean, we warned him that we're gonna look at that schedule.
Yeah, but there's gonna come a time in which you no longer can see
So
what's
here's
going
what
on.
we'll do.
Well, it's almost a done deal that he isn't gonna be on schedule.
When we get the schedule, we'll respond back and ask for that.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
they'll do it.
But I agree with you, that's, keep his feet to the fire, has to be. you know.
Yeah,
If it was anyone else, I don't think we'd do it, but
Yeah.
it's just.
With his track record, I didn't
We
put
are
that
on
location
TV
in.
still, just to let everybody know. I forgot, so.
Very good.
Oh, letting everybody know?
So, our next order of business is the open planning board seats. We have 2 candidates, one who is here this evening, one who is not. and her
Because it's her
hus-
husband's
Because it's her
birthday.
husband's birthday. So we will always remember that. That on October 15th. So I open up to the board for their pleasure as a discussion about this and how you would like to proceed at this point in time. We have 1 open seat and we have 1 open associate's seat.
Well, I first would like to say I'm so grateful that we have 2 people that are interested
Yeah.
in the planning board. I think that's wonderful. And as far as which seat, either one, I don't think there's a huge deterrent between one individual or the other. I guess the one thing about Elizabeth is she has the legal background to kind of be more knowledgeable of what's going on right now, but doesn't mean that you can't learn it either.
From my point of view,
He's
that's.
smart.
Yes,
You're a smart guy.
yes, yes.
From what did you say?
We said you're smart.
That's what I said, I don't really care whether I'm an associate or whether I'm a full board member. I really don't care. If she felt strongly about it, that's just fine. I think that from my point of view, speaking from my point of view, look at what you need, the expertise that you need on the board, and I think that's what you should really do. She strikes me as a very bright girl, and I think I can make a contribution to it. Go by what you think is the best. That's coming from me.
Good advice.
Thank you.
Thanks. John?
Yeah, I'm thinking how best, exactly what you said, how best to use the appropriate talents. George may or may not, presumably you will be running for select.
I don't know.
You don't know, but it's a may or may not.
It may or may
And,
not.
you know, you
Once
may or
this
may
board
not
gets
get
set-
elected.
Once this board gets settled, it's easy to make a decision.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
So my thinking is, given that we probably don't need 2 attorneys that are voting members of the board,
That would
that
be fine.
we keep Elizabeth in the bank for the time when you may leave us, at which point having an attorney as a voting member of the board could be
Right.
just what the doctor.
I think there'd be an opening before that.
I mean,
Would that be so? There'd be another opening on the board well before that.
Before-
Kathleen steps down.
before when?
Well, we think that
Within the next
things you're gonna
months,
do.
within the next few weeks perhaps. Do you have any plans?
Nope.
It's possible, but Kathleen's,
What's that?
Kathleen's gonna be there.
Oh, okay. Well, so it really doesn't make a lot of difference then,
Yeah,
does
if
it?
we had 5 attorneys on the board, that would be a problem.
That would certainly be one hell of a, the only thing worse would be 4 attorneys and an engineer. Jesus.
Being in the associate seat, Richard, might be comfortable for you because that gives you a chance to sort of ramp up.
I
listen
think
to
that's
what's
very
going
appropriate.
on.
I mean, I would be very comfortable with that.
Yeah. That's very, might be a way to approach it. And again, I don't think it'll be a long time.
I think that the whole thing with the difference of these positions too, I think everybody needs to remember, it's just more formalities and voting.
Yeah.
When George was in the seat, George was just like an actually member of the board. Remember, George, you were
I was
very
here every
active.
meeting.
I mean,
You're at the table.
George behaved just as he did tonight, but he didn't vote.
Yeah.
You were here for some of the meetings when he was an associate.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you'd be willing to do that kind of work, it's really very rewarding stuff. It
No, I
really
told you
is
before,
terrific.
whether I'm an associate or whether I'm a full, if I make a commitment to doing something, I'm gonna give
Yeah,
it my
I'm sure you
all.
would, I'm sure you would. So where do you come down on this?
Well, again, it's not like, normally, we're lucky if we have someone, or we get candidates that are so
Right.
off the wall. We're very fortunate this time where they're very close, you know, so
Yeah.
it's not like one sticks out the other. I have a tendency to lean a little bit more towards the law background, just because it's a little relevant to what's on the table.
I agree with you.
But again, it's not because that you're not a
I
good
think
fit.
you really need a lawyer. You need a lawyer on the board at all times.
Right.
It would be
That would be
very
my-
good to
Yeah.
have
It's
that
extremely
happen.
helpful, and it's extremely helpful just having that viewpoint from a lawyer.
So.
Not so much the legal opinion, it's the fact of the legal way of thinking.
Right.
Keeps, George keeps us
Straight
focused,
down,
let's
yeah.
say.
Out of trouble.
And as associate, I did a lot of background work too.
Yeah.
A lot of work with Martha, with the board. So, I mean, anything like that would be helpful.
And you're aware, I think as is Elizabeth, that this is just a recommendation that we make to the Board of
The
Selectmen.
board of selectmen, I understand.
And this Board of Selectmen, and we had
They
that,
can
we had that
reject it
discussion
too.
when you,
Yeah.
when you were here last time, we said that at that meeting, both of you need to be there, no matter what. Then, with that, do you want to make a motion on this?
Well, we didn't hear. Do you have any preference of the backgrounds, Martha?
It's my only thought, and this is partly because of some of the questions that Richard has asked me about courses that he can take to become more familiar with the things that we're doing. And I think Elizabeth has, you know, just because of her background in environmental permitting and some of the other things she's done, I think, you know, she has a little bit more familiarity. So I think it might be, you know, appropriate to give Richard the time to, you know, to take the
Educate
courses that
Come up
he's
to speed,
interested
yeah,
in.
right. I don't
Come
think
up
that's at all
come up
an
to
issue.
speed.
We are all on the same page, it sounds like.
Okay, do you want to make a motion, do we vote on this? Yeah.
Yeah, we
I
have
make a motion to make a recommendation to the
Motion.
selectmen.
I move that the board recommended the Board of Selectmen to appoint Elizabeth Mitchell as a member of the board, replace David Powell, and that the Board of Selectmen appoint Richard Moss as the associate member.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And the,
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
and just possibly one amendment, the full seat would be until next May's election.
Yeah, right. May's election.
Next next.
At which point we hope that Elizabeth will run.
Right?
She would have no objection to be appointed full-time, I mean, you seem to know her. If she was appointed full-time, would she have any objection to that?
No, I've talked to her.
So that's not a problem.
When we
Yeah.
interviewed both of you, we asked what the
Yeah,
issues
the impression I
were,
got
or
was
whatever it
that she'd
was,
be okay
yeah.
with it.
It took
I was
her,
kind of hoping that one of you would say one seat and the other one would say the one the
it
opposite.
did take her a while to get to the comfortable, but she was leaving her downtown law firm and, did you hear all that?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And moving up to Beverly and.
Yeah, well, that certainly is gonna be much
That
better
helps.
for her.
Okay, so,
Did you all say aye?
yes,
Yes.
zoning issues, so, is this reference to the Eric's letter and your conversation you had with me relative to the apartments, accessory apartments. So I have called Howie, who was the chair of the ZBA, but I have not heard back from him. And that was like yesterday.
Are we still being recorded? Is that still on?
Yeah, it's still on.
And so I'm requesting, when is your next meeting, ZBA?
Would you like me just to call him tomorrow?
Mhm.
I'll just call him.
Or at your meeting, bring it up.
Is the meeting tomorrow? I didn't get a notice.
You just did.
Just
I don't think anything's coming up. Actually, the council told me today,
That there's a meeting?
there's a meeting with one item on it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
So,
sorry.
That's what I thought. See, I thought you had a meeting tomorrow. So if you could just bring it up, Eric will be there, I assume, and just say that what we want to do is meet with their board and our board and Sam to talk about the implementation of the bylaw and how to address the concerns that they have.
Just on the accessory note,
Just on accessory at this stage. Oh, you also want to talk about height?
the building height was another thing that came up.
Let's talk about height too, on the Plum Island overlay district.
I didn't
So-
know I had a meeting tomorrow, so I don't know.
Sorry.
I'm gonna have to figure out.
Sorry.
It's not your fault. I didn't
Okay.
know.
And then, so if anything else on this, that's all you meant on that, right?
Yes, that's all I have.
And
We
then,
had some subdivision issues. You had some issues with the way the subdivision inspection routine was revised.
I have to look at the meeting minutes for that's on the October 1st minutes.
That was the last meeting.
The last meeting, you were
Yeah.
here. I thought you answered my questions
Oh, good,
adequately.
okay.
Am I right?
Yeah, that's, I thought so.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought it was still dangling.
No, I don't
If you're
think so.
happy, I'm fine.
No, I think we made some adjustments, but I mean, it was mostly that you answered them because I said, how do we do things these days? Because we're going from this rather strict, prescriptive document to something which is much easier and better for the developer. But you were saying, my question was,
The first one was better for the developer because it's 5 million things you can hide if we do it that way. The new one is the way you do it. The new one is the way the industry normally works.
okay.
Anyway, we're done.
So I think we're okay. So site
Yeah,
plan
good.
review, is that what everybody else wants to talk about? We'll do the site plan review submission requirements. And I did see George's comments, which you sent to Martha.
They were more editorial.
They were mostly editorial, but I did have a couple of questions. Okay.
I took it out when I was on the phone. Oh, here it is right here.
Yeah.
Martha, I know we went over this, but could we go over it one more time? On page 3, the number of copies that we submit, it's 16, and I was trying to figure out why it was 16 again, not, because I was looking at somebody else's bylaw where it was 12. Right now, do we have 12?
No, right now I think we have 9.
Okay, and I was calling, because what I was thinking about was if this was a big subdivision, I'm not so worried about the cost, but if this was just like a small subdivision, this could be, copies cost money, and I was just thinking about how much it would cost if we're asking for additional 5 copies if we don't really need them. I think we calculated this number, and we came up for a reason. We came up for a reason.
We added up all the people that needed it, right?
So I just had a little list right here, could I just read it off to you and tell me who I forgot?
Sure.
We had the fire department, the police department, the DPW, the Board of Health, the town planner. I had a copy for our consultant, the 5 board members, the town clerk. I had a copy for public use. And does Sam or Concom?
Sam and Concom both get them.
Okay, and that,
And what about DPW?
She had,
1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14, 15.
Go
Does
for
clerk
16.
get two?
No, clerk gets one. I think we might have also had historical commission on it.
That's what it was, yeah, I knew we had a reason, okay, so 16.
You okay with that now?
All right.
It is a lot.
It is a lot.
Now, is
What do
that,
other towns require?
It varies.
Newburyport requires 12. I looked it up today. But my question was if it's a small, if it's one of these like only 2 lots, you know, like up here we had behind the Perkins property.
Now, this is just for site plan review. This is,
Oh, that's right, I'm doing subdivision. I'm getting confused subdivision. So site plan review. So, and we have 2 levels, right?
right.
For site plan review.
Right.
So this would be just like for a parking space, if we triggered the smaller one for so many parking spaces, would we still need this many copies?
Well, we also have we have provisions of waiving. We haven't talked about waiving copies, but do you all feel that you would each like your own copy?
If it's a small one, I don't care, but like when we were doing the crazy subdivision across from the state police, it would have been helpful if I had my own copy for those big subdivisions.
I'd like a copy, because I'd rather not have to steal your copy to do my thing on it in my office.
To be honest, I would like that with my own
Yeah,
copy
so
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all want our own copies.
I mean, if we get a copy, then we're much more likely to take more time to go review it than
That's right.
if we don't have one. I was talking to, never mind, it's a conversation for later.
Do you have any other questions? Right from 16.
No, just that it was in both copies, both levels for 16, that's fine.
Okay. George?
Yeah, provided the board has a discretion to waive any of these elements, particularly for a small subdivision, and I think we do in there. Because part of this is overkill for small subdivision.
Site plan, it is.
It is, it's just too much. I mean, if I came in with a 3-lot subdivision and looked at
But
this.
it's
I would
a
go,
But it's not subdivision.
Site plan
You-
review,
you-
that's still a lot of talking.
Just a small,
But like a parking space increase, you know how that triggers so many parking spaces?
Right.
Suddenly you're gonna have to do all this.
but
Well-
this implies though that it gives the town planner the flexibility to report back to us and say, you know, this is really a very modest proposal and she can recommend to us that we limit the number of things that they have to submit to us.
That is the discretionary aspect.
That's-
Right.
and I
I
like
thought that was important.
Where-
So I think that's
where is
good.
that?
Yeah.
It's,
I've got it here
it's in the
somewhere.
guts of it
So
something.
is it in there somehow that we remember about copies? Is it
No,
possible
no.
that someone's gonna jump ahead and start submitting things without even, no, because they have to meet with you ahead of time, don't they?
They do.
So at that point, you can say, what if you forget and then go ahead and make all the copies? Is there some type
So-
of language we could put in there to remember? But what, for the smaller ones, what we should be considering for waiving, or you don't think it's necessary?
I think it's kind of project specific, I think.
It's on page
That's
6.
true.
Page
Is it
6
6?
at the top of the page, waiver of submission requirements.
Yeah,
I think you're right, Martha, it is specific to the project, and
Yeah.
you'll know at the time. It
yeah, I
just
think
makes-
that's fine. I mean, the planning board may, upon written request of the applicant, waive or modify any of the submission requirements listed in the planning board's brief. I think that's fine.
Now, for example, if it's a site that clearly has no historic significance, then, you know, we don't need to have one for historic commission.
No.
Right. So this really gives the applicant, and as long as they've read it and Martha spends the time to explain this to them, there's a lot of leeway here. Okay. George, what else?
That's all I have.
John,
On what? What's
on the site plan
Oh,
stuff?
no, I'm fine,
Okay.
no.
So these are just quick, and I might just give you these to take a look at, Martha. But on the site plan submittals, page 308, and this is just being, it seems to be that all the trees that we look at now are 6 inches or larger, and we say 8 inches here. Is there a reason why? You know how everything in the solar
Right.
bylaw
right,
is 6 inches?
Right. I can't remember if that was a carryover from the previous one, or if it was just a,
And so anyway, I just,
so it should be consistent,
let's just be consistent.
yeah.
And then,
Oh, it's spelled out, that's why.
Yeah.
That's pretty
just
good.
out of curiosity, location of existing proposed park, on 10 of that same group, curb cuts, bus stops? Are there any buses in all of Newbury?
There might be.
No.
Well, the Green Ride comes through, and I think the is it the MRVTA?
Does it?
Is that the one that
Yes.
picks up the seniors, which is the one
Okay.
from the
Well,
picture?
there is a senior van, there's the Ringing Ride,
Fine.
which is part of it.
I just, that was more for my edification than anything else. What are photometric analysis in the lighting?
Um,
We go back to the basic Greek, it's measuring light.
Yeah, but is that,
Photometric.
photometric?
I read that, yeah. Basically what you're doing is doing an analysis of how well the area is lit up with the specified lights that you're going to be
What the amount of lumens
providing.
that are being provided?
Yes, in other words, are you getting enough light over an appropriate area?
How far away do you have to be and still be able to read a newspaper?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Okay. All right, that's all I have on this stuff. I think that must be it. But I'll give you all these, there's a couple of small things. A couple of things as needed, and a couple of typos, and...
There was typos?
No. Town staff. See, here's the thing here, the applicant shall, in level 1, the applicant shall send written notice. Final action on the site plan shall be taken by the planning board within 60 days of the date the application was submitted to the board. See what I mean?
Right.
In a level, if that was level 1.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what time these guys submitted to us. But you're saying it's level 2.
Yeah, that's level 2, just because of the number of parking spaces.
Yeah,
that should be
okay.
there.
All right, so here's this for you, if you want to just see what I said.
And this will be part of the next public hearing that we have for whatever zoning.
Well, I'm thinking we may want to track it separately. Originally, I think we were holding it to have a joint public hearing with the subdivision rules and regs. My only concern is that we've got another site plan review coming through the
Let's
works.
get it
It would be
approved.
good to get.
Let's get it
done.
approved.
So what do we have to do to approve it? Public hearing?
Yeah, so we have to have a public hearing and the board would need to adopt it.
But it doesn't have to go to town meeting,
No.
because it was, okay.
Oh,
Was it
yeah.
okay. Okay.
So do we want to think about that now?
No, it's okay.
I mean, we should probably think about realistically when we could hold a public hearing for this.
Well, maybe the second meeting in November.
That's what
That's not
You're
good.
gonna be right.
Good for you.
What do you take?
Tell them.
We're on TV.
Unplug the TV.
We're on TV. Yeah. We're on TV. All right, so
Okay.
next.
Well, we'll do it in early December
In
then.
early December.
First one
Okay.
in December makes sense, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen, Martha,
If we do it in December, then it's not going to catch the next site plan review, correct?
Well, I wouldn't count on his being able to submit it by the end of November.
Do you see a schedule?
he said he was gonna have it in by Thanksgiving,
Right.
and so it's whatever.
Okay.
We'll assume we know what we're doing here. So, Board of Selectmen.
John, before you leave that thing, just one thing that I was going to suggest, I'm coming in from the outside. When I read that site plan review, I mean, it knocks your eyes out. It is very, very comprehensive, in my judgment. And for some fellow coming in for a three-lot subdivision or whatever it is, it's going to be off-putting, and I don't think you really necessarily want that. Who is the town planner?
That's
Martha.
me.
Okay, in my judgment, having read this as an outsider, it should be very plain that this, that the town planner emphasize this, build it up, so that somebody looking at this thing and says, he's gonna look at this and say, this is gonna cost me $100,000 for a $50,000 lot. Make it very clear that you have, that the authority is there to, when appropriate, cancel out some of these things.
Yeah, and usually what people do is, you know, they'll come in and have an initial meeting, and so we'll get all of that out there.
Yeah, you want to do it even before then, because you don't want people to look at this thing, well, if I buy this lot here and I want to put it in these stores and so forth and so on, how much am I going to have to go through? It has to be very clear that you have a lot of discretion.
This kind of goes back to, remember, it might have been, not even, maybe years ago, this conversation about, I think it was Powell, that kept on saying more about having almost like that flow diagram and chart about like what needs to go in the processes and things like that. It's more of a user-friendly document, but I don't know if that's what you're saying, but this is what he was proposing, is like have a user-friendly document for like the average person to read.
Well, it's not only just a question of comprehension, but what you don't want to do is give the initial impression is going to be important, and it could be a deal killer for somebody that wants to develop something. You know, they look at something like this, I mean, it knocks your eyes out.
But it's supposed
We're not
to, it's supposed to basically say that we have the right to require all these things.
And that's appropriate for a major development, for a level 2 development, no question of, is it the level 2 that's higher? Or?
We just created that, by the way. That level 1 is relatively new, or that didn't even exist.
In other words, but you want it just to be appropriate. You don't want somebody to coming in on a relatively minor thing to think that they're gonna have to do that whole thing. That, reading it for the first time, that's the impression that I have.
Oh, it's overwhelming.
It is.
That's what I said earlier. It's
Yeah,
overwhelming.
and there are times when that would be appropriate, but not all, always.
It's expensive.
What town was it, Martha, that had the booklet? Was it Reading? Reading had a booklet that was nicely prepared that said, this is how you do these things, and this is how we can work with you.
Yeah, somebody,
Yeah.
if somebody
Very
did.
Yeah,
simple.
I think Ipswich has one or
Yeah,
something.
Reading did too. I know I copied that off and gave it to everybody.
Great,
Okay.
that's good on the to-do list.
Oh,
Yeah,
did you
Martha,
do
put
this?
that on your list.
Before you go on vacation.
Yeah. Well, we've actually, I don't wanna, I do wanna get to the other thing, but no, that's been a concern of ours throughout this whole, when we started working on the site plan changes, and we made the changes to the level 2 and level 1, and all of a sudden, concerns that we all had, well, wait a minute, we're just taking something from 4 pages and made it 14 pages because of the regulations, which got much longer.
Right.
So, but we also thought that it was the right thing to do in terms of the levels of projects and the comprehensiveness of what needed to be done. And the fact that we just picked up a project we wouldn't have picked up before. And I think that was right. Anyway, okay. So on the Board of Selectmen, just only because of last night, Martha and I were there, and the important news for all of us is that on October 28th, the board will be, are they sponsoring it, or is the building committee sponsoring it? Makes a difference. The Board of Selectmen, the Capital Planning Committee, the Planning Board, and the Finance Committee will be meeting at a special workshop to talk about the police station and the town hall.
October 29th.
October 20th.
During the day.
No, 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, regular.
We're not, and we don't know the location. As soon as we know the
It's gonna be
location,
the library.
it will be the library.
Is that, what day of the week is that?
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday?
So it's 2 weeks from tonight. Tomorrow, from last night, 2 weeks from last night. And so one of the things they were talking about at the meeting was that, well, you know, the planning board has already submitted their opinion, and that the other boards haven't done that yet. And the other boards really need to spend a bit of time, both individually and collectively, thinking this thing through. One of the very interesting things from the discussions, you down Florida?
Florida.
Okay. One of the more interesting things was Mike Bulgaris talked really quite eloquently about the importance of having the two facilities together. And that when he was a policeman, that the idea of being able to talk to the town administrator and the town staff was really important to the police department, and having them together was really important. So that was interesting insight. No one else really gave that kind of, was there anything else that was talked about that was
No. I think-
insightful like that was?
No.
So that was good. But they also then went through the warrant for the town meeting and approved the master plan to be at no higher than $60,000. That would include the update to the master plan and the open space and recreation plan. And that
All
we,
in that budget?
all out of 60,000.
Is that cut from the master plan budget, or is that plan?
Well, we got cost estimates from Sue Brown,
Oh, that's right.
and Sue said 60 to 80 for both, and then we looked at her and said, yeah, but if we went in there and took a look at updating things like the natural resources and the cultural, and we did that ourselves, which Martha thinks we can do,
Okay.
that we would be able to stay within the budget line. So
Oh, good.
we feel pretty good about that.
That'll be wonderful.
And so if it is approved, our next step would be to go and really solicit, RFPs from the consultant community and get it going. At the meeting last night, the finance committee designated Marshall Jesperson as their representative to the planning committee. And the planning board also, they didn't designate anyone, David designated
Yes.
David Mountain,
For a new,
a new committee, or whatever
oh,
Whatever
so
we
is
do.
your,
A
is your,
master plan committee.
a master plan committee, not so much the open space committee. And there, I'm sure will be members from the capital planning, and that was our objective all along, was to, we need to expand this group of people beyond us and make sure that we have as many people as possible. So Jeff was very good about that, and, wanted to make sure that he had wide representation. So that, is that anything else from last night? Or from other things that you want to?
I just want to clarify in this meeting, that's coming up in 2 weeks. The objective is, what is the objective of the meeting?
The objective is to see if the town can get on the same page in terms of a site and a program for the police station and the town hall.
What does that mean, program?
Size, functions, shared functions.
Okay.
And basically, there are three alternatives that are kind of being looked at right now. One is to put them both here on this site in the building. One would be to keep town hall here, move police someplace else, and the third would be to move town hall someplace else and have police here. So in order to move forward, we really need to get everybody on board with
I
a
agree.
site and approach.
Yes.
This is gonna be 2 weeks from yesterday?
Yes.
Here.
Library.
Library,
The library.
Byfield.
Byfield Library.
Is it something I could go?
Yes,
Sure, absolutely.
yes. 7 o'clock.
If I drive, am I allowed?
It's probably a
I
public
think it's a
meeting.
public
Oh,
meeting.
anybody can
It's a
go.
hosted public
You
meeting.
can bring all the residents.
And it should be televised. I think they've talked to Caleb about getting it televised as
Oh,
well.
so it could actually be, you could actually watch it at home, is in real time?
It's just
Or-
I don't know if we can do it in real time or not, because we don't have the equipment.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on MVPC? They meet tomorrow night, so I'll let you know. But Peter Fippen has been active, and he's got a couple of projects that he's doing in, I think, Danvers on sea level salt marsh stuff, I think. I'll send you that one too.
Tag on somebody's website.
Yeah, MVPC.
MVPC
I'll send that to you too,
website.
if you don't have it. Do you get that? Do you get the MVPC?
I get their,
Just check Peter Fippen's stuff. Conservation Commission?
Yeah, I don't have anything, just wanted to say, Rich, thank you for the definition of the king tide.
Oh, yeah?
Which was a considerable disappointment.
It wasn't.
Talk about it being hiked.
I mean, it was just about like a normal
Just a
big tide.
normal, really high
A
tide.
normal, really high tide.
And back in January, this was 11 something.
Mm-hmm.
We have 12 somethings once or twice a year, so
Yeah.
not such
No,
a
it
big
wasn't a
deal.
big deal.
I mean, the marsh wasn't even flooded.
No, that's right. Well, it didn't have a storm. You need the storm.
Yeah, but when you have a good nor'easter, behind, across
Yeah.
the street from me, the whole marsh is flooded, so it looks
Right.
like we're right on the water.
Right, and Linda's house gets pretty scary down there too, but yours must be really scary. Yeah, I know. And then the ZBA, we're all set, right, tomorrow night?
Yeah, nothing
And we'll
new.
see if we can have that meeting with Howie. Anything else for the
The only
order?
other announcement, but I'm not sure that any of you can go, because both of you have meetings, is this municipal affordable housing.
Yeah, it's tomorrow
thing.
night.
It's tomorrow night.
I know.
Over in West
And then at all of these municipal, zoning board and planning board stuff that MVPC is running it on Monday nights. I think, are you gonna go to those?
Yes, I've already signed up for 2 of them.
Yeah, I'm going to the second one.
Yeah, I can't go to any of them.
All right,
Where
Oh,
is
no,
the
no.
meeting tomorrow night?
You have, West Newbury someplace, isn't it?
West Newbury?
It's in West Newbury, the town hall annex.
Yeah, I saw that.
You need to make a thing.
Is it applicable to Newbury?
I think it's kind
Yes.
of a statewide.
Yeah, it's a
but
statewide thing about
Yeah.
affordable housing, it'd be interesting. You need to make a motion to disband, or whatever we would call.
I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
a
Adjourn
second.
meeting. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.